right, guys, welcome back. It's Coach Crock. Another episode of Meeting of the Minds. We've got a very special guest today. Just getting off the ball field, nice and cleaned up, rocking the Canes jersey in the back, Mr. Frankie Everitte. Frankie, how you doing today, bud?
I'm good, Chase. I appreciate it, man. Hope you are.
Doing great. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk baseball with you. Tell us a little bit about where you're at, what you're doing currently.
Currently, I'm in a hotel, Hoover, Alabama. Fortunate enough to coach with the Canes travel baseball organization. I'm a assistant coach on the 17U American team with Coach Tom Willoughby. So very thankful for Jeff Petty and Dan Gibson and the guys for having me on board.
Great. I've already talked to one Canes coach. Man, now I'm gonna draw a blank because I'm on the spot here. Anyway, I got another one coming up with Kanan Cropper.
Okay, yeah.
He's tomorrow. And Scoggin, Coach Scoggin, Patrick Scoggin. I know it's such a big organization. You probably don't know everybody because there's teams everywhere. But how did you guys fare today in your game?
We played well, man. We actually kicked it around a little bit early and went down 4-0, and the kids competed and fought back and battled back and had to overcome a little bit of adversity, and we were able to win 7-6. So walked it off on them. So it was a good time.
Heck yeah, it's always good when a walk off. You got to let that get in the hotel. When do you play again?
We play tomorrow, either 10 or 12. We just got to wait for the seeding to come out. We're probably gonna be a top either 3 or top 5 seed. So hopefully we're playing in the morning. We can get a break before that afternoon game. So got to win 2 tomorrow, and then win 2 tomorrow. We're in the Final Four. So that'll be cool.
We'll talk about seeding in a little bit in mindset because I'm going to get your thoughts on that. But tell us a little bit about your baseball background.
Yep. So I played high school baseball, Fayetteville, North Carolina. Was fortunate enough to go play some junior college baseball. I actually went to Catonsville College in Maryland. I was a baseball factory kid. Kind of travel ball was just beginning in the 04 to 06 era. I graduated high school in 06. So baseball factory was really big. So I did that. Got hooked up with the guys at CCBC Catonsville. And then I played at Brunswick Community College and finished out at Coastal Carolina University. I was able to be a student manager for Coach Gilmore's staff, and that kind of gave me my passion of coaching. So did that, and then Coach Robbie Allen hired me at Brunswick Community College, where I just played for him. So he kind of gave me my first shot, really, to kind of do it and to learn from him. And I was fortunate enough to do a good job for him and move on to Campbell University for 2 years. Coached with Coach Greg Goff, who's now the head coach at Purdue. All the staff there. Justin Hare's still there. Rick McCarty is the head coach at Abilene Christian out in Texas. So that staff, we were family, man. Had a lot of good time at Campbell. And then Coach Cliff Godwin hired me at East Carolina to be his volunteer. And Cliff's one of the best, baseball minds in the game, man. He's sharp. And, I hope he hears this because I've never told him this, but I'm very thankful, for the opportunities that I learned from him there. And now I'm in the business world and in the sales world, working for BSN Sports. But, a lot of the things I learned throughout my coaching career and having the chance to move on at different levels and do those things, a lot of those things I take with me. And Cliff was a big access to that. Then I went and coached junior college baseball, Chase. I coached at USC Sumter for a guy named Tim Medlin, who is very sharp. And he basically said, "You're going to sink or swim, man," and threw me out there. Said, you come from the Division I world. And, he said, "You're going to sink or swim." Threw me out there, made me, let me, I should say, coach third base and run the offense and be this recruiting coordinator. And for all my JUCO guys, they know, you don't have the student managers, you don't have the ops guys. You're lucky to have an athletic trainer, to be honest. So you kind of do it all. And, I'm very humble and thankful for all those guys that gave me an opportunity because it helped shape me to what I am today.
Right, man. That's awesome, man. You dropped some power names, and it's pretty cool. Like, Coach Godwin was the very first baseball guy I got to interview, and you're right. He is such a I felt like I was talking to baseball royalty. Of course, I'm a Pirate anyway, so I really enjoyed that opportunity.
Yeah.
We got Coach Hare coming up on Meeting of the Minds, and we're going to schedule it out. And then Coach Allen, Robbie Allen, he's coming up. So
that's awesome.
You're kind of connected to all the people I'm talking to. That's awesome.
Yeah, those guys, man, they're all first class, and each one of them, had their strengths, and And I think they all hire young guys. And, I hope I don't blow up their email inbox by saying this, but, I'm very thankful for those guys and Coach Goff as well. I would not be the coach or the person I am today without having to stop at each of those places. That's for sure.
Right. And currently you're no longer, connected in the collegiate game. You've been around a lot. You're just focusing on your new career and the Canes organization, right?
Correct. That's absolutely right.
And your full-time job now lets you have that opportunity to go out on the weekends and stay around the sport you love. That's awesome, right?
Yeah, very thankful. I work for BSN Sports, and very thankful that my territory, I kind of work from home as is. And, the summer with school's not in session, and especially right now with COVID, I'm not able to have a lot of, one-on-one meet with the coaches and the ADs in the school. So baseball, I say it keeps me sane, and it gives me the opportunity, Chase, to number one, stay connected, because, the baseball coaches, it's a big fraternity. And without being in the college game, it gives me an opportunity to see guys on the road recruiting. And, right now it's a little different this summer, but most summers, we're surrounded by college coaches, fortunately with the Canes organization,
right.
They're chasing some of our guys. So very blessed for that.
Yeah. Canes always, pumping out great college prospects.
Right.
It's a great organization. Well, since you've been around baseball so long, you've had to seen some mental situations, right?
Right.
So what would you say that what number would you put on what percent baseball is mentally?
Am I allowed to use the Yogi Berra and say 90% of the game is half mental or whatever his quote is?
Right.
I would say, I think 90% of the game is mental. I don't know if there's a wrong or right answer there, but there's especially now, Chase, at the 17U and getting the 16U kids, having to adapt to the kid or having the kids to adapt to, hey, man, you're going to fail 70% of the time at the plate, if not more than that. But if you fail 70% of the time, that's okay in this game. And just getting them to understand that and the things that go with it and moving on to the next pitch. I mean, this morning, man, we're down 4-0, and our kids have to grind through it mentally to put us in a situation to be able to win a ball game. So I like to say 90%. I don't know if there's a right or wrong answer to that, but that's what we're going with today.
Definitely. And since you've been around so many great programs and organizations, is there anything that stuck out to you as how you train that aspect?
I was when I was a student manager at Coastal Carolina in the 2009-2010 season. I was first, I guess, exposed to a guy named Brian Kane, who's peak performance coach, and I was able to reconnect with him again whenever I was at East Carolina with Coach Godwin. And Brian's big thing was, so what next pitch? And I used the phrase, and I still use it today, of don't count the days, make the days count. You're given, the only day you're guaranteed is today. And I'll try to live by that, because we don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. And the way the world is right now, there's a lot of things going on that's, number one, we can't control. So controlling the controllables is another big one, a cliche one, I guess you could say.
Oh, yeah.
But Brian kind of, I was a young, 21-year-old, 22-year-old that never really thought about the mental game of baseball. So for me, it was kind of a culture shock to have a man come in, and we were breaking boards and eating fire and doing all the cool things back then. And it just kind of made you think about the game in a different way. So I was fortunate to do it in 2010, and then again in like 2015, 16. So a couple years went by where we kind of removed, I guess I wasn't exposed to him at some other places I coached at, and then we reconnected. So I got to see what he does now. Not to try to ramble a little bit, but that was my first experience with it, and it's still with me today, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Control the controllables. What can you control in baseball?
Yeah, your attitude, your effort, hard 90s, playing hard. A lot of those things are kind of overlooked, especially at the 16U, 17U level. But you're going to fail, man. Baseball's a game of failure, and you got to have some mental toughness for sure.
Oh man, that's awesome, mental toughness. attitude, effort, aggressiveness. That's three things that we're constantly talking about at Baseball Mindset. Controlling the controllables. It's a cliche, like you said, that's used so many times, but I don't know if people understand that.
Right.
As far as the mental aspect, though, if you saw a kid that had a bad attitude, how would you as a coach approach him and let him know, hey, we need to get this fixed?
Well, Chase, the biggest thing as a coach is I feel like some guys often, I don't want to say take for granted or forget, but for some of these kids, man, like baseball or wrestling or hockey or whatever it is they're doing, that's their escape, man. Right. And we don't necessarily know their home life. We don't know the ins and outs of what's going on in their world, if their girlfriend broke up with them or whatever it is. So the biggest thing that I was exposed to along my coaching career is just put a hand on their shoulder, man. Let them know that you love them, you care about them, and and just for a baseball, like, make them understand that things aren't going to go their way all the time. You can't control the umpire, you can't control the weather, you can't control the rain delays, etc. You just got to be able to go when your name's called. And in the baseball world, man, if you're a hitter, an infielder, if you make an error, you got to be able to flush it and make the next play or the next pitch. And from the hitting aspect, you're going to fail. Baseball is a game of failure. You're going to fail 7 out of 10 times. So love them up. I tell our guys, man, like, they'll get upset with themselves. But, hey, man, it's the second at bat matters, but I need you in the 7th inning. I need you in the 9th inning. They got to be able to have short-term memory loss quickly and get back on it for sure.
I love that flush it next play. One of our high school coaches talks about that a lot, flush it. And he actually brought a toilet out to practice one day.
Yeah.
Probably because we made a lot of errors, but hey, that's a different story. And then next play, that's a Coach K thing. I've been hearing that for years because I'm a big Duke basketball fan. Coach K, I think, is the greatest. And he talks about that. The next play, if you're stuck in the past, then the present's moving right on by you, and you're still going to be stuck. Right. How important is it to get into the present moment when you're feeling those bad thoughts?
Yeah, it's tough, man. Like to have either a physical or a mental release when things don't go your way. You throw a 2-2 pitch in the black and the umpire balls it and it's bases loaded. You gotta do something. And a big Brian Cain thing was, like, David Price is a big example of it. He did it at Vandy, but being able to have a release, either wiping the mound clean with your foot, drawing in the dirt, or making a mark in the dirt with your foot to just kind of get over that next pitch, have a fresh start. From the coaching aspect is you can't get caught up in the emotion of it's real easy for us to chirp from the dugout to the umpires when we don't get the calls that we think we should get. I've tried to do a better job of telling our guys, hey, so what, next pitch? Right. Because if you can have that short-term memory loss and get over that 2-2 ball call and execute the 3-2 pitch, you're going to be in a pretty good spot. The mental release, I guess, to answer your question in short, or having an actual physical release of doing something to just help you get over the negativity and be in a positive mindset for that next play or that next pitch.
It's good stuff. From what I'm hearing, we call that a reset button. It sounds like the same thing.
Yeah, correct.
And maybe even a switch. Sometimes kids hit a switch before they, maybe when they make an error, they can call it a switch. They switch back into the better player or whatnot.
Right.
The mental release. We found that you can do these physical gestures or these mental positive self-talk. I mean, you're capable of getting rid of that negative garbage in your mind. It's just something that you have to catch yourself doing it and then move on to the next play. Like it's so easy to say, but so hard to do, right?
Right. Chase, I would say, like, the biggest thing for the young guys is to establish a routine. Find something that's going to be consistent. And if it's you look at the top of the left field foul pole between every pitch, then don't not do it when the game's on the line. Right. Establish your routine. Nomar used to have the batting glove thing that he did back in the day. Maybe that's his release or that's his reset. Or the thing it's just part of his routine. So if the young guys can establish a routine and stick with it, that just helps them when it comes time to establish a mental release or a reset.
And in baseball, there's so many opportunities to have routines. It's not just the one pregame routine. I mean, you've got pre-bat routine, pre-pitch routine, whatever routine. There's so many things that go on pregame that maybe people are consciously aware of, or maybe they're not. But it's important to know your routines and stick with them, right?
Correct. Yeah. There's so many, and at the youth level, you get a lot of guys who play multiple positions and two-way. More so at the college level, you don't have as many two-way guys. So your pitchers are going to have their pre-pitch routine and, everything they do leading up to their start or their outing. And then your hitters are going to do the same thing. So the biggest thing is to establish one and have one and know what your routine is. Because if somebody asks you what your routine is and you don't have an answer, then you probably don't have a routine. So I think the biggest thing for these guys is to figure out what a routine is that works for them, whether it's mental routine or physical routine or whatever it is. But we got to have something that gets us going. Yeah. So, yeah.
I talked to Jacob Casper when we first started doing Meeting of the Minds. He was a two-time All-American at Duke, wrestler, and he said it's like we're a cheat code. We put these systems in place that he could figure it out on his own, but we had it laid out perfect for him. And routine would be one of those things. That's one of our top selling, systems. Our routines in wrestling and pre-match routine, and then our routine in baseball. So let's have a little fun here. What's the craziest routine you've ever seen?
When I was at Coastal, I played with a guy named, or was fortunate to be around a guy named Rico Noel, and he ended up playing in the big leagues. Did a pinch running stint with the Yankees, but his thing was like always the deep breath and the release and looking at the left field foul pole every single pitch. Might have been some Brian Cain influence, might not have been, but it worked for him. I wouldn't say it's really crazy, but it's kind of the one that stuck with me of, this kid's got a routine and he stays with it. Haven't really been exposed to many wild, funky ones. There's a guy at Coastal named Alex Buccelli. I think I'm butchering his last name, but had the funky batting stance. And I think if some guys go back and look at some regional video from him at Coastal, they'll know exactly who he is. But he had a little funky stance when he got in the box. But once he got into his hitting position, he was pretty similar to a lot of other guys.
Right. You see that a lot. I mean, especially with swings, everybody's got their own thing, but getting to the ball, it pretty much looks the same if it's done properly, right?
Right. No doubt.
Okay. A couple other things about like mental processes. Have you been around anybody talked about visualization or deep breathing, maybe meditating or praying if you're religious? Anything like that you've encountered?
Yeah. Brian Cain, we were exposed to it through him. And we did some yoga at USC Sumter when I coached there. We would have, as part of our like morning weightlifting routine, we'd mix in some yoga a couple days of the week. I'm not a big fan of meditating, so to say. So we kind of used the quote unquote yoga segment to just kind of clear their mind a little bit, let them have, a fresh start to the day. Cause these guys, the other part of it, Chase, is the guys have to go be good students for 6 hours or 5 hours. We're working them on the baseball side a lot. But the biggest thing that I'd say I was kind of exposed to from that was the yoga side. And then the things that we did with Cain, with a little bit of the meditation. I forgot what it was called, but we would do like some squares where we'd have to like repeat the numbers of the squares, basically just like a concentration visualization type thing. I remember the pitchers at Coastal would kind of turn off the lights and just kind of listen to some audio tracks of Cain and just kind of get in the mindset, so to say, and a little bit of relaxation as well.
Yeah, there's so many. We have about 8 or 9 different areas, and we're putting out new areas of our worksheets. So basically, you go in with our mindset coaches, and you get to the first thing we do is self-knowledge. You have to know who you are first, and then we get into mental toughness. You mentioned that earlier. Present moment, clarity, injury recovery, proper sleep. I mean, these are things that people don't talk about often. You've got to do these things. You got to have an action plan to be successful. Would you say that most of the kids on the Canes and the kids you're coaching now are pretty solid throughout their day, or do they just come and play and just go home and that's it?
In the travel baseball world, it's a lot of show and go. With the Canes, I'm fortunate to be with the American team. And like right now, all of our kids are at the same hotel. We all ride on a charter bus together to and from the field. So everything we do is more family atmosphere. On the flip side, I've also coached, the Canes Central team where we're not on a charter bus. We're not in the same hotel all the time. The only time I'd see my kids will be at the field on Friday night or Saturday morning. So at the youth level, I would say there's a separation versus the college and pro level, if that makes sense, just because the kids are kind of in travel baseball. The kids are a lot of times showing up, and the only development you get with them at times is in the cage before a game, or if you're fortunate enough to set up some practices along the way. A lot of that has to do with kids that can get there, and school and travel and et cetera. And right now we're living in a world where kids are just wanting to be on the baseball field to play with COVID. And a lot of these guys lost their high school baseball season.
Right.
So travel ball is, it makes it difficult to an extent, just because you're not with them as much as you are at the college and the pro level.
Right. It's a great segue. You're stealing my material, Frankie. Talk about COVID and how excited the kids are. I mean, I would just imagine the first practice or game, there was a little buzz in the air. Am I right?
It felt weird. It almost felt like, we shouldn't be here. We shouldn't be doing this type thing. And some people may argue that we shouldn't be, to be honest with you. But on the flip side of it, Chase, these kids were so happy to have a little bit of baseball. I guess it's probably been 4 or 5 weeks ago when we first started. We went from all thinking, man, we may not play travel baseball this year, to, oh man, we get to play next weekend, and then we get to play the following weekend, and then we get to play the weekend after that. And it's been so rewarding to watch these kids just have a smile on their face and to think about things, or to not think about things and just think about baseball and each other and the memories they're making with everything else going on in the world right now. Just very fortunate for that.
Yeah. I would love to be able to experience that. So I live through you guys. When I interview these coaches and these athletes, I want to hear about what's going on right now, because I'm tied to a school and I can't get in there and do anything, and it's driving insane. Has it worn off, would you say? Can you see where the gratitude is kind of going down a little bit now?
To be honest, man, I haven't dove into the news and the quote unquote political side that there could be of some of that stuff. I'll say this: we're doing our best to make sure our kids and our families that are involved in this are staying healthy. We're wearing masks when we're around other people when we're able to. We're making sure guys are washing their hands and doing all the precautions to keep us on the field. I will say that, we are fortunate to travel to some different places, and in some parts of the world, you would think there wasn't a pandemic going on.
Right.
The other parts of the world, it's very real and it's scary. And it's hard to get a 16, 17-year-old kid to understand what's going on right now. So we're thankful we have some good parents and some good coaches that try to help do that. I feel like it's depreciating a little bit. I think the seriousness of it is probably still very real, but for the kids that we're around, thankfully they're all very strong and physically healthy. And I think that helps in our case, in our situation. So I don't know if that kind of answers your question or not, but it's hard to say. I think it depends on where you are, who all's exposed. I live in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and 4th of July weekend, it looked like normal, to be honest with you. So, we're doing some things in different states to have some precautions, but to a lot of people, you still got to live your life. You still got to, again, we're not guaranteed tomorrow, and that's the reality that we're in.
Yeah, and I've said this quite a bit. Coaches, and I'm sure you've heard it or you either said it, you got to play it like it's your last game, leave it all on the line, leave it on the field. And nobody could ever really imagine that, maybe a senior after they graduated. But now every single freaking baseball player in the country can think, hey, my season was taken from me.
Yeah.
And automatically that should be a switch to put them in a good spot, and they should be really performing at a high level if they really love the game and they're really truly grateful for playing it. We say mindset principles, and that's the first one. I'm thankful for the opportunity to compete. Would you say the kids are still being aggressive and look like they're playing to their best abilities now, like leaving it on the line?
I mean, honestly, Chase, I feel like the break and not having the travel baseball or the spring baseball probably helped some of the kids. I mean, our pitchers are fresh. These first 4 weeks or so, we kept some guys on some pitch counts and kind of built them up to stay part of their arm care program and to keep them healthy. But, we're about to roll into Atlanta in 2 weeks, and we're going to try to go get it and try and win the thing. Like, that's part of the Canes culture, is to try to win and let the kids have some fun and develop these guys into good young men and husbands and leaders and stuff like that. I listened to your segment with Cliff, and just listen to him talk about how when you talk about play the last game, how that impacted them when they played at UNCW and got back on the bus, and then it was like boom, a couple phone calls, a couple days, and we're cleaning out the lockers. So the kids are very thankful to be playing right now. I do think the rest helped some of them because, I mean, essentially baseball is year-round now. You're playing Jupiter in the fall. Your kids are playing fall baseball. They're playing Friday night football and playing Saturday, Sunday baseball. So I think the rest probably helped. But it's a different world, that's for sure.
Records, rankings, you guys are coming into I would say a big day tomorrow. How do you prepare for that? Is it something that you treat it the same, or how do you talk to your kids about that?
It's for us, it's just another game. We're still going out there, and in our case, we're trying to get 21 outs. We play 7 innings. So we're going out there and we're trying to win one pitch at a time. We're playing to beat the game, to play our best baseball. We're not playing against the number 1 team in the country or whoever it may be. We're playing the game. I've always been a firm believer of that on the baseball side is, beat the game. Don't let the game beat you. If you beat the game, it doesn't matter who's in the other dugout or who's across the field. You got to take care of the things you're supposed to do, and you'll be rewarded at the end. And it may not always work out that way. So the good thing about it is, in our world, you get to turn around and do it again tomorrow for the most part. So you got to have short-term memory loss, flush it if things don't work out for you, and be ready to compete the next day.
Would you see that in this level of travel ball that kids get caught up in, maybe the kid's going to Vanderbilt and he throws 98, or maybe this kid or this team hasn't lost in 50 straight games? Do they get caught up in the hype?
I think the kids are passionate, and the kids that maybe aren't in the Canes uniform are just as passionate to beat us, so to say. I feel like Jeff has done such a tremendous job with the Canes organization as a whole that we're going to get everybody's best game. They're not going to come to the park and think it's going to be a cupcake by any means. And getting the kids to understand you're going to face some really good arms, and to be able to make some runs in quote unquote playoff settings and travel baseball, you're going to have to be, play your best baseball day in and day out, because Jeff's established that brand with Canes baseball. And the other organizations too, I don't want to just be about Canes, but the other organizations that we play that are some of the premier, Jeff's kind of spearheaded a little bit, a tournament coming up. And I think it's next week, called the Ultimate Baseball Championship. It's down in Hoover, Alabama. And the Dirtbags, Elite Squad, Florida Burn, Louisiana Knights, like some of the bigger travel baseball organizations are in that tournament. And, I would venture to say, Chase, that, a lot of these guys kind of feel that whoever you play, you're going to get their best game from them. And the kids have to be able to respond to that day in and day out. No doubt.
Well, good. So as we wrap up here, I know you're busy. You want to get back to your program, get to your team and your guys. How would you kind of wrap it up? Like, what do you want to? What's your final message you'd like to give to baseball fans about mental side, or anything else you want to talk about?
The biggest thing is, the people that are tuning into this, I feel like care. Number one, you want to, absorb all the content that you can. Reach out to guys, ask questions. if I could go back to my 21-year-old self when I was around Gary Gilmore every day, I would ask more questions, man. I never knew. I grew up in Fayetteville, North Carolina, Chase, and if you would have told me I had a chance to coach at Campbell and East Carolina and be around the guys at Coastal and these junior colleges, I would have said no way. It was a dream come true for me, and I just encourage guys to seek out resources, learn about the mental game. You know, you never know in the baseball community. It's so tight knit, and it's a big fraternity. You never know who knows the next guy. You hear it, you know, it's cliche. You never know who's watching when you're playing as a player. It's the same thing, man. You never know who's watching you, and you never know who's going to see this. And you know, they may follow Chase for the rest of their life now, and want to learn about, you know, what you guys are doing. And you know, just I encourage everybody to just, the biggest thing is just reach out, you know, ask questions, you know, be thankful for opportunities, and approach things with an open mind, because that's the only way I feel like we can grow, you know, in the game and you know, throughout life.
Right. That's great. Good stuff, Frankie. Hey, look, if there's anything I can ever do for the Canes or for your team in particular, reach out, man. I'd love to help you out any way I can. And if there's anything I can do for you personally, please let me know. If you're ever in town, we might have to get some BSN work going.
Yeah, no doubt, man. No, I appreciate that, man. And I encourage people to look up what you guys do and how you're looking to help people grow and enhance, you know, their game or their profession. And I think it's good, man. I appreciate you taking the time to do this. Very thankful for you having me.
All right, Frankie Everitte, we appreciate you stopping by, and we'll see you again real soon.